Okay, we are here with Everett Burns. And first off, Everett, let me say thank you for being flexible with me throughout these technical problems. Will not happen again, but I really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to chat with me and ultimately everybody that watches this video. I know the kind of value that you're going to provide because I've had the immense privilege of working with you over the last 2 years and just seeing the person that you've evolved into and the leader that you've evolved into. And I'm so proud of you, first off, but I'm also so thankful to have you as somebody who I know can help lead the new branches and the senior branches, because you've gone through so much and you've had so much success already, and you're going out to be a new DM this year. So it's like you're still in it, you're still growing, and you're still improving, and you're still making a massive impact here in Vector. So it's really great to have you on. For those of you that don't know Everett Burns, first off, get to know Everett Burns because he's amazing. But for those of you that don't know him, he's from the Northeast region, and he ran his first branch off in Pennsylvania, in the Powerhouse division in Easton, Pennsylvania, and his office during his first summer did $180,000 of sales. So he crushed it his first summer, landed 5th in the nation in the Silver Cup race. And then he went out the second summer, this past summer, and he changed territories, which oftentimes you see senior branches going back to the same territory, but Everett decided to start from scratch in a brand new territory in a brand new state, in Long Island, in New York. And this last summer, he did $240,000 and landed 6th in the nation. So it was really great to see his massive growth. I know there were challenging moments throughout the summer, but he powered through like a champ that he is. I'm really excited to be able to feature him on today's call. So thank you so much, Everett, for being here.
Thanks for having me, Shelby. I'm excited.
Yeah, cool. Okay, so the first question that I have for you, Everett, is going into your first branch summer, not truly knowing what to expect, what was your attitude and outlook in January? And I know that here in Vector, we talk a lot about being aggressive about your growth. How were you aggressive about your growth?
So for me, I was really aggressive about my growth with my personal growth habits, like reading every day, meditating every day. And then another thing was I realized I didn't know a lot. And so I was just going to have to outwork a lot of people who knew more than me. And so that was definitely a big focus for me in the business, was just doing as much as I could to learn different skill sets, different things in the business as well. That way I could, compete with people who knew a lot more than me.
So on that note, doing as much as you can to learn, what do you mean by that? Were you just watching a ton of videos, or were you field training, or were you actually the one in the office doing all the things?
So it was a combination of all three. I was watching Vector Connect videos multiple times a week. I would cross-train with different managers, whether it was my promoting DM or just a different manager that was closer to my school. And then I would also get the opportunity to run interviews, run some training seminars, do PDI and things like that.
Cool. Now with cross training, was that something that your DM told you to do, or was that something that you decided, you know what, I've got this opportunity to meet new managers, meet new leaders, and I'm going to go out and do it on my own?
That was kind of just from me talking with different managers throughout conferences over the year, and going back and forth, like with my first office being in Pennsylvania, but going to school in New York, I was passing a lot of managers that I had a connection to, and it gave me an opportunity to just connect with them, whether it was for a team meeting, just to watch an interview, to go for a training stop by, just finding little opportunities to get into other people's offices and see how they run things too.
Yeah, that's such a great point to make, that it's obviously really important to listen to your DM because they really have your best interest in mind, but it's always helpful to learn from other people who are doing well and being successful, because you get a chance to see how different things are run, how there's different ways of doing the same thing that still get the same result or better result. So that's really great. Thinking about the Vector Connect talks that you listen to, are there any ones in particular that you feel like are an absolute must listen for a first year branch?
Drew Frank, the one thing, has to be the go-to. It just makes the business really simple, and it gives you easy key things to focus on as a new branch.
Great, cool. So Drew Frank's the one thing, just make sure that everyone takes a note on that one, because I know Drew Frank's an amazing leader in our business, so I can only imagine how great that message might be. Okay, Everett, so as a senior branch now, we often say that this is a summer where you really capitalize and build something great. And granted, you built something great both summers, but you obviously took it to another level this past summer. And especially going to a new territory, building something from scratch to do $240,000, that's no small feat. So going into your senior branch summer, how did your preparation shift and how did your mindset shift?
My mindset was definitely more confident. I was just kind of, because I was more aware of like what I was good at. So I knew like, hey, as long as I get better at these key areas, like I'm going to improve. And so I just had that confidence of like 150, 180 is my baseline if I don't get better in any way, which definitely boosted my confidence. Um, and I would say in terms of prep, it was like working on the skills that I didn't do so well at my first summer, and just making sure that I talked to people who were better at those things than I was, watched videos from people who were better at those things than I was, and then planned time to work on those things, whether it was scripting a talk or, practicing PR calling, recruiting
Yeah.
functions, anything like that.
So thinking about the senior branches that are watching this video, how did you go about identifying what were the areas of opportunity for you to work on going into your second summer?
So one way was at Olean when we had our senior candidate breakout, and we had a message. I can't remember who it was. It was either you or Earl who like reviewed all the numbers of like the top branches from the region, and just that summer at a glance sheet showed me like, hey, day 4 through 10 can be better. And then I dove a little bit deeper with my DM, my prior DVM, to see even more areas for opportunity of growth, just based on those numbers, and then based on some more specific numbers.
Cool. So you leveraged your leaders and really made sure that they were helping you identify those areas.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's a really great point. Okay, so on the initial call, we spoke a lot about the importance of mindset and then technical skills and tactical skills. So looking back at your 2 summers of management, what would you say are the most important mindset skills, technical skills, and tactical skills in terms of running your business?
Mindset, I would say, is being able to check yourself like during the day, not just going through the whole day in whatever state you started in, but like, you don't have a good show to an interview, but you have training right after. You have to be able to check yourself back in and give your best for each part of the day, regardless of the prior event's results.
Okay. Well, let's pause on that really fast. So when you say check in, what exactly does that look like?
So for me, there's a couple ways that I check in. One would be journaling, just to like 3 to 5 minutes of journaling. And then the second would be take a walk, just like right around my building. And then the third would be just get a drink of water, sit down and just kind of relax for a couple minutes, like in my office by myself in my own space.
Cool. Okay. Awesome. So technical skills now.
Technical skills, definitely Facebook Jumpstart. I put a ton of legwork into that every spring the past 2 years, and that has paid off tremendously. I would just say like making that a habit is so crucial because it's a skill that everybody can learn really easily. It's just the habit that makes the biggest difference.
For sure. And with Facebook Jumpstart, I mean, it not only does it literally give you the jumpstart on the summer, you have the ability to kind of, I don't want to say pick and choose who you're reaching out to, but you can discern a little bit better as to who you really want to heavily recruit. And then that sets you up for a really great PR chain, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, that's really great. That's really important. Okay, tactical skills. So like the skills that might give you the edge on your competition.
I mean, I would say daily habits outside of the business. That was kind of something that really benefited me, like having routines and having things that I could do to recharge outside of work, where I wasn't like wake up, go to work, come home, go to sleep, and repeat.
Yeah.
So like meditating daily, reading a little bit. I still found this summer I did a better job of it than my first summer, but finding time to still grow during the week was
Sure.
huge.
How did you find that time?
For me, it was really just planning my schedule better in advance. And like I knew on certain days, like after on my Wednesdays, I had 2 interviews, and then day 1 of training in between, and then a team meeting right after that interview, and then team night out. So like I knew I was not going to do extra personal growth stuff on that kind of a day. So it was like making sure that I planned in advance so that it wasn't like, oh, I should have done that today. It was like, oh, I'm doing it tomorrow.
Right. So maybe a tactical skill on top of what you just mentioned, it would be planning too.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's dive a little bit into planning because I think that is something that we touch on. No, we talk about time management, but I really am a big proponent of planning and I have 87 different ways I do it. But I'd love to hear from you, Everett. How did you really maximize your ability to plan and how did that help you with your summer?
So my first summer, I really struggled to plan. I had a big desk calendar, and that really helped me with promoting events because I never lost track of the important things. But then this summer, where I pivoted, was I had a Sunday stop by meeting for my reps, and I would always go in 90 minutes before they all were supposed to come in, and I would use that as my planning time. And so my first summer, I didn't really have a set aside planning time, but my second summer, I made sure like, okay, this is my one time each week where I'm going to plan, and then having a day or having time to review that each day.
Cool. Now, in those planning sessions, what did that look like?
It was mostly like put in the big rocks. I mean, obviously, like we have our interviews and training and stuff like that, but then it would be like planning for the number of PCs I was going to need to run that week. And then also planning my staff schedule, like with my assistant managers, like, okay, who am I intending to PC? Who are they going to PC? You know, what are their office days and like that kind of thing.
And why do you think that was so helpful?
It was really helpful because I was never flying blind. Like when somebody asked me like, hey, what's going on Wednesday that we have to be here for the team meeting, I was able to tell them this is the agenda, this is who's going to be talking, blah, blah, blah. This is what you're going to learn.
Yeah. Yeah. The reason why I asked that question is because I have an answer to the question, which is I was kind of setting up a nice softball pitch for me to jump in here and share a little bit too. Because I'm a really big planner and there have been times in my life where I'm not. And what I found is that I think a lot of people have the wrong perception of planning where they feel like it's overwhelming to see a full schedule. But I would encourage people to actually look at having that full schedule as being freedom because it eliminates the overwhelm of, well, what should I be doing right now? Instead, you look at your calendar, you say, okay, I planned this out right now. I should be PR calling. And my plan is to make 30 PR calls and to set 10 or 15 or whatever that might be. And so it allows you to just kind of move through the systems in an efficient manner as opposed to spending 5-10 minutes each hour in overwhelm of like, well, what should I be doing this hour? So I really am a huge proponent in planning. And I love the fact, Everett, that you mentioned how you would take time on a Sunday, 90 minutes. That's not a small amount of time. And it shows the importance behind planning that you actually carved out an hour and a half to do that, but then how it allowed you to really move through your week at an efficient pace, but also having the confidence that you knew why people should be there, all that kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Cool. Okay, so now thinking about just habits in general. So you've mentioned habits quite a bit in what you think has helped you really grow and find success as a manager. One of the things that I've talked about both in the call and also in the previous interview with Miranda was the importance of a keystone habit. And so for those of you that haven't watched the other calls, first do that. But second, a keystone habit would be the kind of habit that sets the ball rolling in all the right directions. So I think about how for me, if my overall habit that I'm working on creating is eating healthier and making better choices, that keystone habit for me is starting my day off with a protein shake, because I know that if I do that, the chances of me making healthier decisions throughout the day are amplified. So that's my keystone habit. So I'm curious for you, Everett, what would be a keystone habit that you've built that's out of the business, but directly impact your success in the business?
So the keystone habit that was extremely crucial for me starting out as a branch was meditation. Because I felt like I had so much to get done to be prepared and it would overwhelm me at times. And so I would make sure that, you know, kind of like what you said about your protein shake, like if I knew if I start my day with 5 to 10 minutes of meditation, I'm going to be more relaxed. I'm going to be more focused. I'm going to be more present to what's going on. And that definitely made a huge impact.
I love the fact that you said 5 to 10 minutes of meditation, because I think that, and I find this to be the case with a lot of people who are looking to start these habits. It's like it all of a sudden becomes this like extreme commitment of like, I'm going to meditate for an hour every day, or I'm going to wake up at 4:30 in the morning when in reality you've been waking up at 9 a.m. Like that's not going to work, and you're not going to. Maybe 1 out of 100 would be able to make that significant of a shift, but it's those small habits that build up over time. And maybe for you, Everett, and I would love for you to talk about this. When you first started meditating, I'm sure 5 minutes felt like an eternity, but maybe now 5 minutes is like not even nearly enough time.
Yeah. When I first started doing it, it was like by like the 2 or 3 minute mark, I'd be like, okay, how much time is left? Like I was doing it because I said I was doing it, and then I just allowed myself to kind of relax into it more. And like it's just like any other habit, the more you do it, the more you actually like want to keep doing it.
Right.
And so what I found was that after I had been doing 5 minutes for like a month straight, I had certain days where I was like, 5 minutes wasn't enough. I'm going to do 5 more. And then it kind of gradually built into that where it's like, now I do 5 or 10 minutes, depending on how I'm feeling that morning. Like if I know I have a really busy day, I'm usually going to take that extra 5 minutes for myself.
Yeah. And I think in our first interview, the one that got screwed up, you had mentioned an app that you use.
Yeah.
What's it?
The app that I use is called Simple Habit.
Perfect. Cool. And that app itself is a meditation app, or does that help with all different kinds of habits?
It is a guided meditation app.
Great. Okay, awesome. I love to hear that. Now, what about a keystone habit that is like directly related to the business that you feel like because of that keystone habit, now you might have already mentioned this, but because of that keystone habit, it set everything else off into play?
For me, the keystone habit in the business was Facebook Jumpstart, because that really like sparked the start to my summer both times. I mean, out of my 4 assistant managers this summer, 3 out of 4 of them came from Facebook Jumpstart. And then my first summer was both of my assistant managers were from Facebook Jumpstart.
Wow. That's awesome. That's really great to hear. Okay, so we also talked in the initial call about the number one reason why most people fall short of developing their habits. And for a refresher for everybody, the first reason why is because by nature, humans avoid pain. And when creating good habits, there's usually some initial pain involved with those habits. And the reality of habits is, sure, it is short-term pain, but it creates so much long-term gain. And then the second reason why people usually avoid creating habits, or they fall out of creating habits, and I see this especially in the vector culture because we're very recognition heavy, and that serves a purpose. It's really important. But when it comes to creating habits, we have to realize that we're not going to be recognized for creating the habit. What we will be recognized for is the success that comes from the habit, but in the creation mode of the habit, we're not recognized. And that's hard for a lot of people to realize. So in your experience, Everett, what kept you motivated to continue strengthening your habits, and how did you make the necessary sacrifices to build these habits while being distracted by school and significant others and family and all those things that, you know, are still very, very important, but can oftentimes overtake your life?
Yeah, that's a great question. So for me, the way that I kind of resisted, or like that I stayed empowered to move towards my goals and my habits, one of them was just having a tracker and tracking the different habits that I was doing on a daily basis. That way I could reflect back on the week and I would say like, oh, I wanted to do this 7 times, but I only did it 5. Like, can I do 6 next week? And so it gave me a point of reflection and to grow from. Or it's like, I really fell short with this habit this week. That's got to be a point of emphasis next week. And so it'd be like one of the first things I did every day, and that way I could get myself into it. And that just provided a lot of momentum because I felt like I was constantly improving. And with, making the sacrifices, for me, it was just going back to planning, being on top of my schedule, planning my family time ahead of time, especially like my second branch, because like I wasn't in Pennsylvania and I wasn't going back to Pennsylvania. So I would take like a specific 2 days, just out of my schedule to go home and spend time with my family, knowing I wouldn't see them a ton in the summer. And so things like that.
That is such an important thing to mention. I'm so happy that you mentioned that, because it's a great life skill to develop, where you can have the conversations ahead of time with the people that matter the most and set the proper expectations for them of you. So, in your situation, Everett, setting the expectations with your friends and family, hey, listen, I'm not going to be able to see you much this summer, so I want to schedule some time in now so that we can really, we can really strengthen our relationship now, because come summertime, I've got some really big goals I'm going to be focusing on, and my time's going to be really heavily dedicated towards this. So I love that you mentioned that. It's so, so, so valuable. In the effort of keeping this, as short as we can, what would be a final piece of advice for any branch managers out there?
Find somebody to run with. Find somebody who can hold you accountable, who you can learn from and learn with, and somebody that's just going to help you overall, stay on track.
Yeah. And that's one of the great things about the Branch Impact program, is that if you feel like you haven't been able to find somebody in your region, you can find somebody, or in your division, you can find somebody in your region, or, in a different region. And I know, like, for example, Everett, you and Miranda have developed a strong relationship, and I'm sure you'll be talking a lot this summer as you're both going out as new DMs and directly competing with one another. So that's the beautiful thing about the Branch Impact program, is that we bring people together to run together and to support one another and hold each other accountable. So thank you so much for spending this time with us today. And I'm looking forward to cheering you on as you crush it during your first new DM summer.
Thanks, Shelby.
Talk to you later, Everett.
Talk to you later.